Welcome to the podcast People Stories. And our next guest is someone without who Malta wouldn't be the same. He has been explaining the world to many for countless years. And until now, he does not stop surprising and inspiring others. And the person we're talking about, of course, is Demicoli.
Thank you, Kamil, but that was amazingly very kind of you. Thank you so much for that introduction. I don't deserve it. I'm just myself, but I'm glad that you somehow acknowledge that I possibly inspire people.
It's not even only my opinion. I think I've heard that quite a few times, to be honest. So
nice to hear.
It's only that reputation grows and grows, which is fantastic.
That's really nice to hear. Thanks for that.
So shall we start maybe with this? I think, imagine if you go and apply for the job and you bring your CV. Imagine that the person who is reading this, you have this like crazy experience. Did you ever do any like a regular job?
It happened to me when I jumped from TVM, PBS for like 14 years. And I applied to work at the Malta Chamber. I went through the process of sitting in front of my interviewers and asking me questions like all other employees, prospective employees. So, yeah, of course, the first question would be, how on earth are you considering leaving what is perceived as a dream job and going into a completely different job?
Yes.
So that was the only time in my life. But since then, of course, my life changed completely upside down again, because after 4 months, I decided to go freelance.
I think that transition served you well, because I think it's hard to reach you again.
What happened was because I was afraid of making this career change. I always thought that I wanted to make a career change during my lifetime. And when this Malta Chamber thing happened, I said, okay, that was it. The end of a fantastic chapter, possibly one of the best chapters in my life, because it was a hard decision to leave PBS. Something had to give, because PBS was taxing physiologically, psychologically, emotionally, time-consuming. So something had to give, and that's why I decided to somehow leave PBS and make this career change. And then it was like seamless, without any extra effort. Everything fell into place, and I immediately recognized what I want to do with my life. And now it's been 9 months being my own boss, and it's been the best 9 months ever.
That's always nice to hear when somebody makes maybe a bit of a risk or that change, that it worked out at the end.
Yeah, because people keep on telling me, you're self-employed now. I just start telling them, yes. So you're your own boss? Yes. But that's scary. What about the income? What about time management? What about if you don't have any job opportunities, if you don't have any requests for jobs and whatnot? But it's been completely the opposite. And it's true, because there was one guy I truly admire, and he told me, once you make this big change, you're no longer afraid of any change in life. And it's true. Now, 1 year after this biggest change in my life, true, now change has become second nature.
Okay, that's very inspiring, very nice.
No, true.
One of the question is, because you are married, and when was the moment that you knew that Alexia is the one?
So,
does that special moment exist? Or?
That's very tricky, because it was a bit like, it's been very tough to actually date each other. I bumped into Alexia in a club, and well, it wasn't love at first sight, but somehow there was this sort of connection, but it was not really a meaningful connection. And then when we started chatting on, I don't know if it was really chatting on MSN back then, 18 years back, or was it a phone call? But then we exchanged numbers, and we started communicating quite regularly. And then we said, why don't we just meet over a coffee or something? And then we immediately realized, both of us, that it might be a thing. It might work out.
Nice.
And now since then, it's been like after the birth of my daughter, it has been the best thing in my life for sure.
And of course, you have a brother who is working like in the same industry as you. Say like you were supporting each other. There was a competition, or how would you describe it?
No, it was somehow a competition when I joined the Malta Chamber, and he works at the Chamber of SMEs. So actually, during the interviews, that's what they told me. They told me, we seem to be happy with your CV and with your personality and everything, but we do have an elephant in the room, and that's your brother working in an opposing organization. Not an opposing organization, but an organization representing employers. And we only have 4 such organizations in Malta: the Malta Chamber, MHRA, MEA, Malta Employers Association, and the Chamber of SMEs. My brother happens to work there, but professionally, we have always been professionally distant. So we do love each other immensely. We have a strong connection, but other than that, we do know our boundaries somehow.
That's it. Well managed. Next question would be, I think, a little bit tricky. You know, sometimes when you face the moment when you maybe are a bit scared or something happened, sometimes people say they have that glimpse of like a 5 seconds and they see that the whole life within those 5 seconds. If I ask you like what is like the biggest impactful moment that happens in your life?
I believe the biggest impactful moment was when I was at the age of 9, entering my grandmother's house. Sunny afternoon, first week of November, 1991. And as soon as I stepped into my grandmother's house, I found my mom. She was desperate, knocking her head against the wall, crying, not even crying, she was in ecstasy. She was like, she lost it completely. And at that moment, I realized that something terrible has happened, and immediately I could tell that my father passed away. And those 5 seconds, I said, okay, now automatically I have to assume this somehow big responsibility at the age of 9. As cliche as it may sound, because people might say, come on, at the age of 9 you cannot be a father. But my brother was only 2 at the time, and my mom, she was only 27, 28 years old, so she was pretty young. She had her life in front of her, so she was really young. And having 2 young children like me and myself, so I had to somehow, I knew that emotionally, psychologically, that moment would change her completely, forever. And and I knew that from that day onwards, my life would change completely. And I had only 2 options, or just pitying myself for the rest of my life and saying, oh, how unfortunate I am, how unlucky I am being raised without a father, or saying, okay, this is a golden opportunity for me to mold myself in the best possible way. And by being responsible, by trying to master some skills in leadership, in communication, in inspiring possibly my brother and helping my family in the circumstances, because it was extremely challenging at that time, both financially, emotionally. It was a terrible situation. It's like, it was tough. Even financially, because my mother, like our father, was literally our breadwinner, and after he passed away, my mom had to raise us with a government monthly pension, which was pretty low, and something had to give. Because I had to walk to school every morning just to save on transport to school, so it was tough. But all these experiences have molded me in the person I am today. And I'm really grateful that I've been through all those experiences, because now, with hindsight, I am indeed very appreciative and grateful that I've been through all this. Because somehow, without that terrible experience, as terrible as it was, I wouldn't have made it possible to start working in journalism, for instance, at the age of 16. Most likely, I would have said, okay, my father is working, so I'll just stay at home and just expect my monthly or weekly pocket money from him, and I'll do nothing. But at the age of 14, I started cooking burgers, serving people, dishwashing, and whatnot. But those are the best experiences ever.
Even though like some were doubting, like you were only 9 and you cannot possibly be a father, but of course if this happened and you are like the oldest child, you automatically will be pushed that way. Exactly. But again, as you said, you were able to find that positivity and you only learn from that.
True, because sometimes when something happens in our life, I don't know, Kamil, but if you meet people, they take two directions. Or they become stronger as persons, or they just not somehow destroy themselves, but they just drive their mindset in trying to portray that people should pity them for the rest of their lives because they lost someone so dear to them. They don't make that extra effort to just, okay, that was a huge knock, but now we have to stand up and encounter all the challenges in front of us. So those 5 seconds, seeing my mother in such a desperate situation, I said, okay, so this is the first 10 years of my life, and my life has changed already. And the responsibility is going to be huge.
Thank you for sharing this experience. It's very, very touchy. Thank you.
No, pleasure. I'm not saying it just for people to pity me, because now it's a history.
No, but it's nice. It's real.
I wanted to share it because I know a lot of young people, they go through a lot, or they think that they go through a lot because of anxiety issues, because they think they're not perfect, because everyone wants to be perfect, both physically, both in whatever they do. And they just want people to pity them because they're not perfect.
Yes.
No one is perfect. It is exactly those imperfections that make us the great persons we are. I truly believe that everyone has got the potential to be a great person.
Yes, I think we need to put up the fight, and that's it, and take it as it comes.
No, definitely.
Once we enter that subject of the kids and like the challenges they're facing today, you know what changed today is this short span of concentration, and like this direction we are going. Like for example, if you put up well thought interview of 20 minutes, 25, I think for granted you can take it that people don't going to watch that. And what you see, what is very successful, is like this shorts 1-2 minutes. So do you think we are lost in that sense? This quality will never come back?
Somehow I think we lost it. And I blame social media completely, because social media, we're immersed in an incredible race to create content all the time and to check out content, not to miss out on any content that might be of interest to us. To catch up and to keep up with everything, we cannot just stop and watch a 20-minute interview, such as this one, or a 25-minute interview. And we just want 1-2 minutes, even 2 minutes nowadays, it's long enough. But on the other hand, in 60-90 seconds, you cannot say much. I cannot tell my story in 60-90 seconds. I can tell it briefly, but possibly not in a meaningful way, such as I'm doing now, or possibly going into some details which explain the context around it. What I urge people is to just possibly don't waste your time on all the glitter, all the glamour, all the niceties you see, and all these change your life, become richer, live the best life. I don't believe all this honestly. So what I ask people is to just try to be more analytical and more choosy when they're trying to subscribe to channels.
Keith, if I can share this with you, I think what we are missing today, it's this honest conversation between each other. I think people tend to fall more for like this kind of meaningless things, like, you know, oh, did you see that? Did you see that? That's the funny video. I would love to this kind of like a deep conversations to be back and be normal again, because only from this we can learn or understand each other more.
Definitely, if I can give one tip, how we can communicate better, how we can create these meaningful conversations we're having today, is to listen more. Because even when I'm presenting or hosting something, what I try to master, what I try to focus on, is listening to the person I'm interviewing, or the person who's taking the floor, and then not even concentrating on the next question, because he might prompt me by what he's saying to a different question, to a different direction. So I might have prepared, like you did today, several questions, but he says something really interesting which might captivate the audience around me, and I say, okay, I need to change direction and I need to focus. And you get that because you're listening. So unless you're listening in a meaningful way, just your body and mind, you're present there in that interview, you cannot achieve it. And nowadays, when I meet 18, 20, 25-year-olds, they're not even looking straight into my eyes. Sometimes they're just scrolling their mobile or something. Okay. And I'm saying something. Sometimes it happens to me as well. I'm still catching up with my mobile, and hello, Camille. Yes, I know it's very disrespectful. But then as soon as I realized, okay, I try to avoid that. Even I am tempted to take the truth sometimes. So it's very challenging because we're inundated. Like we're swimming, and we're swimming in an ocean of content, of misinformation, artificial content, artificial people. To find genuine, authentic people in that ocean, it's really challenging. To create a meaningful conversation, you need to make an effort.
Knowing your story, seeing how you are, even for me, it's hard to imagine like you have a down day, like you're not smiling. I think you just wake up and you're like that. Among all of this, are there any more dreams that didn't come true for you yet?
That's a hard question, because I'm always dreaming of doing something not extraordinary, but that excites me, because I genuinely love connecting with people and love communicating with people and trying to give life to conferences, events, festivals and whatnot. I just love it. I do have my down days when I'm not delivering on what I'm expected to deliver, because sometimes I have to blame myself because I take a lot on me. I hate saying no.
I think it's your personality that you always, like you said, I always keep on dreaming. So you always give yourself like another tasks. And I think that could be maybe part of the recipe for success as well.
I just consider that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And as long as you are enjoying what you're doing, everything seems to be easy. And it's true. People keep on telling me, but how on earth you're always like positive, you're smiling, you manage to keep up with everything. It's just successful people, they work hard. And you need to work hard to try to achieve something. It's useless sleeping until noon or sleeping until 1.
Knowing what you were doing before, do you still find the time to watch like a news daily?
I have to be honest with you, during these past 13 months, since I decided to call it a day, on the 30th April 2021, that was my very last newscast. Ever since, I would say I watched the 8 o'clock news. Other than that, usually in the evenings I'm not at home. I arrive late. I don't have time to catch up on the 8 o'clock news. So most of the time, like most of the people nowadays, leading a hectic life, it's just checking the news on your phone. I rarely watch TV unless Milan are playing. Because I'm an avid Milan fan by now, I guess everyone knows that.
Yes. I really like that you shared that in order to succeed, you need to work hard, even though it's easier to kind of look for that bitterness in others, and like the would confirm. I think still we should put up the fight and go for our dreams.
Absolutely. Because I told you earlier, I graduated as an IT specialist, then in European studies. After that, European law, economics, and politics. And I worked as a journalist for like 20 years or so. And all that helped me, molded me in taking this decision, this hard decision and very challenging decision to just take my side hustles full time.
Nice. What you said is when you do what you like, it doesn't kind of feel necessary as a work.
Yeah,
No?
and I somehow, I'm very grateful that I found my passion. I found what I love most. And I know people, even watching this podcast, and they're saying, I'm really exhausted, I hate what I'm doing. My advice to them is possibly to just consider taking an online course or a part-time course to try and master new skills, and then possibly start their own thing on the side, and then possibly they keep on working hard. They need to work hard. So I know they would have their full-time job and then this side hustle, but then eventually everything will fall into place almost automatically. And then they possibly consider taking that side hustle full-time. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of stamina. It takes a lot of perseverance. It takes a lot of determination. But unless you try, you might end up at the age of 60 and saying, I could have done that at the age of 35, at the age of 30, at the age of 40, at the age of 45, and I missed the bus. And that's what I kept on telling myself during this process. This might be the best time to do it. If I miss the bus now, I might regret it.
So find your passion and make it your life. Run for your dreams.
Yeah, I know it might sound easy and it might sound a cliche. I would still tell people, give it a shot.
And on that high note, I think we can finish today. That was Keith Demicoli for you, and I think he gave lots of fantastic ideas and advices, so you have no reason not to try. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Kamil.